Today, we're going to have Jamie Davis from Subsurface Imaging in Southern California on the pod. We're going to talk about some really cool things about the changes in GPR technology. We're going to talk about X-ray. We're going to talk about what it's like to have a really niche business and what you can do if you want to get into the GPR concrete scanning X-ray business. Take a listen, and thanks for joining. Welcome to the Matadore Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Berg. Today, we've got an incredible guest. Jamie Davis is the vice president and co-founder of Subsurface Imaging, a company he started with his brother back in 2004. Together, they built it into a go-to name for ground-penetrating radar and concrete scanning. Scaling the business for nearly 2 decades, he recently sold off the X-ray division to focus on what's next, growing their radar and core drilling operations in Southern California and expanding into demo and excavation work in Texas. So Jamie, thanks for being with us today. I know you're in California, so 6 a.m. for you. This is a normal day, right?
Yeah. Yep. Most of the time, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you first got into this industry. How did you get into ground penetrating radar and X-rays?
So my brother and I we had a stepdad and a real dad growing up. Our birth father owned a company that did similar work, more on aerospace, like traditional non-destructive testing side. They did some concrete X-ray as well. We wanted to just concentrate on the concrete X-ray. We joined their company for about 1.5 years. Had differences of opinions on how we thought things should go, because we're young and we think we know everything. They're established, been in business at that time for probably 20 years. So those things don't always mix. But we really gravitated towards the concrete side. So after 1.5 years or so, we parted ways, started our own company just doing concrete inspection, and took it from there and just kept running with it.
Cool. It's a fascinating business. The GPR, the X-ray, the scanning, the testing. It's kind of like it is a necessary part of this whole, construction ecosystem. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced in this particular industry, right? This is not something that you see all the time. So I'm sure there's some big challenges that you guys have seen and faced.
Definitely. It's a very weird business. It's super niche. Sales-wise, marketing, we're a little bit different. We had some advantages a lot of companies don't have. We have to be on the job site, on certain jobs. That's a drawback. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But you don't have a choice but to use us or people that provide our service. So, and since there's not many of us, a lot of times it's just letting people know what you do, let them know that there's another option out there. Aside from the existing competitors we had. And then, like anything else, just going out there and trying to do a better job than the next guy. We're such a small company. Even when we were at our biggest, we got to mid-20s in field employees, but we're working for the biggest contractors in the nation.
Yeah.
Also the smallest ones. But we always tried to fit in like we were a big national company.
For sure. I know that, when we chatted on the phone last week, we talked, I have some experience in concrete restoration. I have seen GPR work and X-ray work, and it fascinates me that a GPR technician can pull out this device that shows you what the inside of a piece of concrete looks like without really showing you what the inside of the piece of concrete looks like. But yet a really qualified technician could say, this is a post-tension cable. This is a fiber optic cable. This is a piece of rebar. This is a, 1/4-inch piece of rebar. This is a 2-inch piece of rebar. It's at this depth or this. It's fascinating. How does somebody, I don't know. how do you do it?
I mean, there's definitely limitations to radar. It's hard to identify size. Theoretically, you can do it. If that's another conversation, but there's definitely limitations to radar, but there's advantages, compared to X-ray. I don't think one replaces the other. A lot of people think they do, but at the end of the day, there's certain times you have to X-ray. But as far as radar, it's type of equipment where most anybody can use it, but it takes a special. I can't even identify the mindset. Sometimes I think it's stubbornness that makes you a good, or ego that makes you a good radar technician. We've had probably five employees that were probably, I mean, shit, they're better at radar than me and my brother have ever been and still are. These guys, probably four or five of the best on the West Coast. They see things that I just can't see, and will scan the exact same thing. And we've followed it up with X-ray, and sure enough, what they're saying is there. It's a challenging device. It's interesting. It's being sold as the replacement for X-ray, and it does in some regards. But it's a tool that needs a lot of respect.
Yeah.
The manufacturers sell them to everybody: plumbers, electricians, all that stuff. For a simple hole, yeah, you can scan it and you'll be good. When it comes down to nitty gritty, you need those guys that do it every day. That's all they do. Uh, that's the best way to be successful with it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you want to operate on your heart, you want to go to Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to go to the people that do this every day, day in, day out. They know exactly what's going on. Right?
Yeah, it's definitely a tool that you get better. Even still 20 years later, we're still learning stuff and getting better. And it's not just because of technological improvements. It's just practice. It's just hands on the ground using the equipment. And interestingly, previously when I was doing what we call traditional non-destructive testing, it was ultrasonics, X-ray, mag particle, dye penetrant, stuff like that. Radar info, the data we get from radar is very similar, kind of, to ultrasonics. And sure enough, back then, when we would do ultrasonics, I would look at the screen and go, what is that? I see a bunch of lines. I know what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Working with a really good technician, he's like, oh man, look at that. That's bad. And I'm like, but that looks just like what you scanned over there that you said was good. So it's just like ultrasonics, where it takes time and work to start seeing what you're seeing.
So it's a really good segue to, from a technology perspective, how have you seen this industry evolve, right? What tools and innovations have made the biggest impact on your work? I'm sure that even just from a GPR standpoint, when I was in the restoration business, 15 years ago, it's completely different than what it is now, right?
Yeah.
Even just that one device. So I can't imagine from someone that is in it, right? That's doing it every day. How has it evolved? What's been really good?
It's interestingly enough, our first experience with radar it's pretty amazing that this piece of equipment even worked. It was so right now our radar is like a scanning device, right? So we scan, and the wheels have an odometer on it, and it keeps track of where we are on the concrete. So if I move 2 feet this way and back up exactly a foot, it'll tell me on my screen that I just backed up exactly a foot. That way, when I scan over something and find an item, when I back up, it tells me where that item is, right?
Yeah.
Well, the first radar unit we demoed was an older unit, and you had to measure on the ground like a 10-foot long section and make marks on it. And then you had to watch the monitor, which was like a CRT monitor, and it was a time and distance type measurement. Basically, you had to hit the 1 foot mark in 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds. And then it would print out your data on, remember those printers that like they burned into the paper and it'd stink? And
Yep.
then you had to take that sheet of paper and look at it and go, okay, at the 1 foot mark or at the 8-inch mark from my start, there's an item. Knowing what we know now about radar and how we really need to scan constantly and move over areas constantly. It was so archaic. So from that, we got a new radar unit that had a cord from the monitor to the antenna, kind of cumbersome. It was in a big Pelican case. Now it's evolved to our monitors on our piece of equipment. And that's not even the latest and the greatest. Now they have antennas that are Bluetooth to a separate monitor. Right now, our radar unit's about the size of like a 6-pack of soda, right? Well, they have these little palm antennas that are about the size of a baseball that Bluetooth wirelessly to some. There's even like a chest rig where the monitor, when you crouch down, the monitor folds out. So you're scanning and just looking, and this hand is free, so you can mark. It's pretty incredible the way they've combined antennas, you name it. They're still
That's
fighting
crazy.
physics, but the technology in packaging has helped a lot.
Yeah, they're making it a lot simpler for somebody that
Yeah,
there's no real outside calculations. You're almost live streaming what's
100%.
beneath you.
Yeah, when I move the antenna, my screen is moving accordingly as far as where I'm at and where the indications are, you know.
Wow.
So
Wow. So for someone that's listening that wants to get into this business, right? This is very niche, right? For me, my business for the last 15 years has been around electric construction equipment, and I've solely focused on electric, which leads me to a lot of indoor construction. I do work with some concrete restoration companies, but mostly it's general contractors and demolition contractors and concrete cutters, right? For someone that wants to get into this GPR X-ray, or they just want to understand it a little bit more, right? It certainly has gotten easier to do this type of stuff with advancements in technology. But for someone that wants to succeed in this industry, what's one piece of advice you'd give for them?
I think it really depends on the person and what their long-term goals are. So uh, in the LA market, the rates on radar is typically around 185 to $205 an hour. The equipment barrier of entry is pretty darn light for a business for that type of billing.
Yeah.
So the units we use are about $15,000 to $18,000 for the radar unit. They need some markers and tape measures, just general stuff. I would say once you buy the radar unit, the rest of the stuff you need to go do a job is maybe a couple $100, and that includes all your safety gear, hard hat, vest, some markers, tape measure, stuff like that. If you have the experience, that's your entry besides business license, stuff like that. Now you can make really good money as an individual doing that.
Yeah.
I think most guys here in LA have a 4-hour minimum. So you go out, you're billing 750,
Yeah.
eight
You're
hundred bucks.
almost $1,000 for every job.
Yeah, and it's a half day. So you can make $4 grand a week. Pretty darn easy.
Yeah.
Um, as far as, it depends on your marketing, like anything else. But if you can get one job a day, you're going to make 3,500, 4,000 a month. I'm sorry, a week.
Yeah. That's great advice. I mean, this could
Yeah.
be for somebody that wants to do something that's specialized, take the next step in their career. This seems to be something that will
Yeah.
take some investment, right? But
Yeah.
by the
But not
time
bad.
by the time you get a truck, right, and you get the one GPR setup, one scanning, right, you're $100,000, right? But you're set up. You can
Well,
finance that. You can get
yeah, with
everything.
radar, you can, I mean, the great thing about radar, you can do it from a Honda Civic. Theoretically, you could do it from a motorcycle. The Pelican case is the small Pelican briefcase. But like I
Okay.
said, the unit is only about the size of a 6-pack of soda. Yeah, a tiny bit bigger, but basically that big. So if you were bootstrapping this, literally going, I'm going to get the equipment, I'm going to steal Crayolas from my daughter's coloring book. You can literally do a job with that, right? And I'm going to take whatever car is out front. If that car is a motorcycle, you can do this. I would think, if you're just going to do radar and you're going to buy a car, don't buy a pickup. No reason for it. Now if you get into utility locating and stuff like that later, the antenna is much bigger. It's about the
Yeah.
size of a lawnmower. like a walk behind lawnmower. So maybe you want a pickup truck for that. Go fuel efficient. Get a Prius, get a Maverick if you're going to get a pickup truck. You don't need a big full size truck, you know? So you could do great doing that. Now, scaling from there, that's where you need to put a lot of thought into it. You got to be very rigorous on your training, like any other company, training systems, so forth. Biggest being learning how to hire the right person and
Yeah,
training the right person. Now, you can do that once or twice, but if you're trying to scale this to where you have a technician in every major city in California, that's where it can be really tough because
for
training
sure.
on this, I've had in 20 years, I'm sure I've had, let's call it 150 employees. I still go back to those 4 or 5 guys that were the best radar guys ever.
Wow.
A lot of my guys, I could send them out for a simple job, a block wall, a single mat rebar, no conduit, no problem. It's those jobs where there's conduit, plastic, Smurf tube, there's post tension cable, there's rebar. Those jobs, just wanted to send those 4 or 5
Yeah.
guys on, you know?
Yep.
So, and then there's a lot of liability in it. The reason we get what we get is because the liability is somehow we still have insurance, but I've probably paid out, or my insurance has probably 125,000 in the last
Wow.
20 years. You know, when we make mistakes, we pay for it. You know, on
Sure.
radar, typically I don't.
Yeah.
It's because I'm picking up data points. I'm not seeing an actual picture.
Yep.
X-ray, I was seeing a picture, and if we mismark something, I look at the film and say, nope, that should have been marked. We pay for it. You know, I had one 8-inch hole cost me 25 grand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So last question. This is a more a question for me, but also a shameless plug for you in a sense, right? Tell me about this demo and excavation in Texas.
so that goes back to the principle of any business, I think. We have an employee that's been with us forever. He's an incredible guy. And he got married, blended family. He has a daughter. She has a couple boys. Great family. But being here in SoCal, she was making good money. Tommy was making good money with us. But LA is so expensive. You know, I couldn't afford to be here if I didn't own the house that I bought 12 years ago. I couldn't
Yeah.
afford to buy my house now. So he was thinking about moving, relocating out of state. And we talked and he said, what do you think? I was, well, Arizona or Texas is a good place to raise a family. He said, well, we're thinking about Texas. Yeah, that's where I would go. Do you want to take a truck with you? So we weren't even talking about him. He wasn't asking, hey, can we open another shop? He was going to unfortunately quit with us and go restart, you know, in Texas. I didn't want to lose him, even if he wasn't going to be in the state with us anymore. So I said, you want to take a truck with you? He said, yeah, absolutely. So helped him move out there. I drove a trailer out there to help. And he bought an acre outside of Austin with like, I think a 4,000 square foot house on it for a little over 400 grand.
Wow.
And we basically put him on salary for a year while he did sales. And I would go out there whenever I could and do sales. And just slowly we started generating work. Tommy's one of those employees, just got to get him on the job one time. If the client can see his work and his work ethic one time, we got him. So
Amazing.
we've got a core group of clients out there, about probably 7 or 8 clients that are very loyal to us. They're loyal to Tom. They just really appreciate the work he does. And so
Amazing.
we have more clients than that, but those 7 is really just consistent as heck. And we just kind of let the work go where it dictated out there. So we went out there to do cutting, drilling, and radar. And then we would cut and they'd say, well, can you remove the concrete too? Sure. So we start doing removal, saw break, remove. And then they'd say, well, can you dig the trench for us too? Now, can you pour the trench back? Can you dowel it, vapor barrier, all that stuff, sand bed the pipe that they put in? So there's times where our scope on the project is a higher dollar amount than the people that hired us because we're cut, breaking, removing, excavating, shoring at times, trench plates at times, fencing, you name it. And then they come in and put their pipe in and leave. And then we backfill, sand bed, vapor barrier, dowel, all that stuff, clean up, re-asphalt, re-concrete, whatever it is. Our portion might be 40 grand and their portion might be 20 grand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're the ones that hired us. So we just kept letting the work go where it goes. Now Tommy has his own business out there doing residential demo. He gets all the residential, we get all the commercial. I trust him implicitly. Use my equipment on your jobs, I don't care. Now Tommy, because he's done really well out there, he now has a mini excavator, a skid steer, a big F450 aside from our F450. So now we have his equipment to use on our jobs. We rent it from him for the day. He gives us a great deal, but it helps him make his payment. So it's a symbiotic relationship that is just amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, he needs us as much as we need him. You know what I mean? So, as far as it just works really good together.
I think that the next time we have you on this, we'll bring Tommy in, we'll bring you in, we'll have a joint conversation. We'll hear a little bit about how everything's going in Texas and and catch up on all the stuff you guys are doing in Southern California. Well,
yeah, Tommy's an amazing guy. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in Texas with concrete X-ray, because they're starting to build very similar to how we build in California. So a lot of post-tension, a lot of Smurf tube, the plastic conduit. There's times where you have to X-ray, or you can get around it if you move your whole wall and screw up the design of your project. But I do full-time radar and core drilling here in California. I refer X-ray probably 3 or 4 times a week. And every time I do that, I potentially lose money because now they're going to X-ray the project instead of me radaring the project.
sure.
But there's certain jobs where radar is not the right application, just like there's certain jobs where X-ray is not the right application. Before, when I had both, we would pivot back and forth. So it's going to be interesting to see, because it's not really X-ray in Texas right now, at least in Central Texas, Austin area. It's going to be interesting to see in a couple of years when they need to start doing tenant improvement on some of these projects, how they're going to navigate that,
For sure.
So we'll see.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time this morning. I know it's early for you. Really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to having you back next time and bringing Tommy on too. It's great.
That would be awesome. Really appreciate it, Alex. It was a good time.
Thanks. Have a wonderful day.
All right. You as well.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Matadore Podcast, where every week we sit down with the people actually doing the work, the contractors, operators, and the innovators building and creating the physical things that make our world move. However this conversation hit you, whether it's something you're going to try on your next job or just a different way of seeing the industry, that's exactly why we built this show. If you want more of that, hit subscribe. New episodes are on their way every month. Real conversations with real people about real equipment on real job sites.